welcome into Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, I am a huge Joe Flacco fan. Wise Usher once said, "Situations will arise in our lives." I'm talking about shut down. Like you not throwing on Jimmy Smith. Joe is criminally underrated. Lock him up in cuffs. Criminally underrated. Lamar's put this team as a top 5 offense for the first time in 20 years. Got the arm talent. Jay Cutler had it too. I don't care about this argument against total TDs and all this. Oh, you want to talk about defense? Oh, until next time. All right, what is going on, good people? We are back at it again. We as in me, DJ. I'm your host, and I'm back at it again. This Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, of course. And I tell you what, let's just jump right on into it, okay? We're gonna recap the Rams and the Ravens game, and we also are going to slide, cha-cha, slide. We're going to slide into this next week where we got the tough and somewhat healthy, I guess, Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll talk about that as well right here in this show today. But let's start with this Rams. I mean, you want to talk about the walk-off TD by Tylan Wallace coming in for the injured Devin Duvernay. I mean, that's heart right there. The walk-off punt return TD in a spot where he's not necessarily used to, right? This is not a spot that Tylan Wallace is typically in. So for him to come in and make a play, that's huge. That's huge for him. That's huge for his psyche. That's huge for his confidence going throughout the rest of the season. So shout out to him, man. Let's pull up the stats real quick. I'm gonna pull up the stats and we'll look into how this game went. But y'all know, man, like y'all know this one was a tough one, man. Like I talked about it pretty much this whole time. Like I felt like the Rams would be a tough game simply because the Rams are a talented team. The Rams are so darn talented. They have so much talent. If they could put it all together, I mean, it would be crazy. And that's what we've been talking about this whole time. It's like the Rams are so talented. That's why I thought this would be a tough game coming in. And it was 37-31. The Rams put it on the defense this week. I mean, if the defense is going to have an off week, it was going to be against a really talented team in the Rams. And it just felt like the defense couldn't figure out how to stop the Rams, right? The Ravens found a way to continue to, kind of go tit for tat with them, but it was more so the Rams' offensive abilities that kind of hurt the Ravens a little bit when it came to the Ravens' defense that's been playing really well. But let's jump into it real quick. So in the passing game, Lamar Jackson, 24 of 43, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick, which is interesting because I played Lamar Jackson in fantasy. So that was a little interesting aspect I had to deal with. Matt Stafford on the other side, 23 for 41, 294, and 3 TDs. Leading the way rushing, Kyron Williams, 25 carries, 114 yards for the Rams. Lamar Jackson, once again, 11 carries, 70 yards for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson was all over this stat sheet. If he could throw to himself, he probably would have. Odell Beckham Jr., leading receiver, 4 receptions, 97 yards, 1 TD. And Cooper Kupp on the other side, 8 receptions, 115, and a TD. Man, I mean, the Rams just looked good in this game, man. They just looked good. They looked good. They looked like what they've been trying to look like all year. It felt like that combination of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua has been good all year, but it kind of came together in this game, I felt like. And that was the big thing. It came together in this game. DeMarcus Robinson, he had an almost touchdown catch at one point in the game. Like, he looked pretty decent. Like, he looked like kind of a depth piece that they probably needed. And I mean, this wasn't a game for defenses at all this week. Let's just be honest about it. Keaton Mitchell, 9 carries, 54 yards, 6 yards a carry. So he was getting up there. Well, he was trying to keep up with Lamar. He was trying to. But Isaiah Likely had a big game, 5 catches for 83 yards. Hopefully that'll keep up, especially with the whole Zach Ertz thing too. That's a whole nother section. That's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. I think would be tight end Zach Ertz. What that means. We'll talk about that later though. As later on in the week as we go along, but. With this one here, like, the interesting part about this game was seeing Isaiah Likely play well, right? Seeing Zay Flowers play well, seeing like those high volume catches. It felt like this week. Bateman had 2 for 12. So it just felt like this was something that was. This was a game, I think, where the Ravens didn't really run the ball, which was weird. Like, because the Ravens are a run first team. The Ravens gonna run the ball if they don't do nothing else. So it was just kind of interesting to me that they didn't run the ball as much in this game. But I'm glad they won because they got to, we all know about the tough stretch the Ravens got coming up here soon. So because of that, this was a game that was almost needed to win. It was almost going in must-win territory because the Rams are the weakest of the opponents that the Ravens are going to play, right? And when I say the Rams are the weakest, that doesn't mean the Rams aren't necessarily good. Record-wise, they're not great, but in terms of talent-wise, this is one of the more talented teams in the league. So offensively and defensively, so that's the thing. But then you got Jacksonville coming up this week, right? Real quick, with Jacksonville coming up this week, the biggest thing I think, especially defensively, is you got to get back on your horse defensively this week. Because defensively, the last couple, especially last game, and it felt like even kind of the week before, at times the defense has been struggling a little bit. So this is when coming off of the bye, I think everybody expected the Ravens to be kind of back at it again, right? I think everybody expected the Ravens to bounce back and be ready, but it felt like they were a little slow, a little sluggish, not nearly as effective as maybe they had been in weeks prior, especially defensively. So I think this week, when it comes into the Jaguars game, one of the biggest things that I really want to see, when it comes to the Jaguars game is make Trevor Lawrence uncomfortable, right? The Jaguars are another team with so much talent. They have so much offensive talent. ECN, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones. I'm missing the other number one guy they got. I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but they got so many, they got Evan Ingram as well. Like they got so much offensive talent. So that's gonna be the thing too, is slowing that down, stopping that. But the biggest thing, making Trevor Lawrence uncomfortable, right? Because he's got that ankle injury. You're gonna have to kind of attack him a little bit and make him move around a little bit, make him uncomfortable because he's already gonna be uncomfortable. We saw it last week. He threw 3 picks coming back off of the sprained ankle from a week before where he didn't finish the game. So if you make him uncomfortable, that's going to be the biggest thing. Like, hit him, make him get up, make him, make him tired, wear him down. Offensively, I think it's going to have to be more of the same, right? I would expect it to be a little more balanced this week. It probably was just a matchup last week with Aaron Donald and everything too, and that defensive line. So I think coming into the Jaguars game, the biggest thing for me is going to be, can you find a way to get back into your balanced state, right? Like another thing I really want to see too from the Ravens is, why don't we get Keaton Mitchell the ball in space as opposed to making Keaton Mitchell have to run, have to be handed the ball, right? He don't need to, Keaton Mitchell can run in between the tackles. Cool. Like I know that's something they said on the broadcast. I know, that's a surprising, shocking thing, and that's fine. But like, what's wrong with sending Keaton Mitchell on a Texas route? What's wrong with sending Keaton Mitchell on the screen? I know we're not the greatest screen team ever by any means, but what's wrong with sending Keaton Mitchell out in space, put him in the slot, or even just having him out of the backfield and, having him go up against a linebacker one-on-one? No linebacker is going to be able to defend Keaton Mitchell because he's so fast. So what about that? Why don't they try that? Why don't they try a little block and release? Let him chip some of these elite pass rushers that we face and go out into the flats, and that's your throw for that play, if it's there. So I mean, I think that's something that they could also do too. It seems like they're trying to attack down the field, and I get that, but right now they're missing on it. I think they still should still do it, right? It should still be something worked on in practice. It should still be something executed in the game, or at least attempted in the game, because you got to keep teams honest. But I think another layer to this offense could be getting Keaton Mitchell in space, right? Getting Zay Flowers back in space. For whatever reason, lately it's felt like, I don't know if teams are keying in on Zay Flowers as they should. They might be just keying in on Zay Flowers, and it's like, Zay Flowers is not beating me this game. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, but Zay Flowers is not beating me this game. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're keying in on Zay Flowers, and it's lessening his thing. But I mean, my keys to the game coming up for this week is going to be, on the defensive end, make Trevor Lawrence uncomfortable. Because if he's uncomfortable, everybody's going to be uncomfortable. And then on the offensive side is get back to your balance, right? And don't be afraid to give the ball to some people in space, right? Don't be afraid to give the ball to some guys in space, and let's see how it goes. I know it's a little bit shorter of a video this week, but I promise you next week I'll be back with everything you ever wanted and more. All right, I'll definitely be back next week to talk a little more. We got this tough stretch coming up, so it's going to be plenty to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed. Remember that the Flock Nation Speaks podcast is on all major podcasting platforms. I'm trying to pull it up for y'all video watchers out there, y'all video people. Okay, I'm trying to pull it up for y'all, but it's on all major podcasting platforms. And if you're listening on the audio version as well, we on YouTube as well. So be sure to subscribe over there too. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Flock Nation Speaks. Until next